Yes, here we go. Never a dull moment, right? Good. Well, today let's talk about the principles, guiding principles we use at the Indigo Elephant and with our clients, of course, but also in our own organization. Now that we are starting off like a couple of weeks in, we have, of course, more and more conversations with leaders, entrepreneurs of larger and smaller businesses. I think it's good that we share some of the practical things that come up when we talk about what we do at the Indigo Elephant, the principles, and, well, what that leads to. So let's kick off.
Let's kick off. So what do you hear? And just in general, if you share about the first principle, and the first principle is your unique contribution.
Yeah. Well, many people translate it into what your talent. So doing what you're talented to or in. So, and I think that's a nice translation, right? It's something that you kind of know of, that you really are good at. Doesn't cost you any energy. It brings you to life. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But also when you dive a little bit deeper, it's like, okay, but how can I know that someone is really, truly contributing in their own unique ways? And am I doing it myself even? So already that one principle is already causing some, well, at least some material to think about.
Oh yes, for sure, for sure. And even when we speak about with other people, even our 3 labels we gave. So the eye opener of Mario, I can stabilize, and you can bring people as a catalyst just into movement. Just raises questions. And oh, that's so nice, but it's beyond nice, because it's also what I got back in what kind of role you take on, what fits you really well. So maybe like I like questions, just spark my life, give me a question, and then my world opens up. But you can also be an observer, or you can be a provoker, or all kind of things. You can add in a role what fits you naturally with your character. And from there, things can open.
Yeah.
And even in the position you take in your work environment, of course, that's no different really from your life environment. It's interesting to see how things can unfold if you really are conscious about the role you align with and you want to take, because you can also take a role on in more an unconscious way, what's provoking for the sake of provoking. And then
Yeah.
you are a disturber.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So just the consciousness around it is helpful, just to see what's really going on and how you can embrace and expand from your unique contribution in a broader perspective than just a label.
Yeah, definitely. And also in a broader perspective than just what your function describes, right? So this is also the things that arise is like, okay, well, but my tasks are like descripted, they're kind of fixed. Yes, I can do something next to that, but in the end, it's like you need to do this. And then many, of course, see that it's not completely fulfilling. And I think that's also why many people are still working in companies and in jobs they might like, but it's not really like 100%, leading to all kinds of trouble, of course.
Yeah, and I remember an organization where they didn't have the job descriptions on their desk or on their name tag or whatever, but the quality they have. So I remember the example, someone had on the name tag penny dropper. Yeah, well, and that's exactly why people wanted her. She was a arch manager, but she was a penny dropper. So when people felt stuck, or just stuck in one direction or limited in what they could see, they asked her in as the penny dropper. So that's the unique contribution we're talking about. It's beyond a job title and a university study. What did we study?
Yeah, right.
And then you give it a fancy name with a salary indication, and that's it. But is that your unique talent, or is that umbrella of a study?
Yeah, right. And I think that many mean to bring this to the organizations, like wanting people to uniquely contribute. But if the underlying principles are still coming from fear-based principles, lack, or the need for profit first, then we tend to see that they kind of diminish. So there
Yeah.
is a lot of
Well,
practical stuff to do in that realm, I guess.
yeah, I think in the fear and scarcity mode, when things get tough get going, and you just rely on what you know, and it's harder under pressure to embrace what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
And we know, because we walk the talk in that area, that when things seem stuck, what you don't know is the most valuable to explore.
yeah,
And we can call it pioneering. So maybe we are just pioneers. We
yeah.
like
Well,
pioneering.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, and in effect, we are just because if we want to build like companies that are based upon new principles that ultimately will also lead to new societies and new economy, that is like uncharted territory, right? So it is pioneering. It's not having all the answers and being okay with that, and then still moving forward. But when you have these principles, it will make life a lot easier. And then I also think because one overarching um, guideline is that everything stems from unity consciousness, right? So that is making it kind of easier. And the other one is one of the other principles is having access to equal opportunity. And this is something. It's kind of more like so.
Well, real deep diving questions around this one from an organization which helps people who are dropping out or are on sick leave, and they really want to bring them back in inclusive kind of area where everybody can flourish, even if you are chronically ill or you have another disability. And then they say, well, that's not possible because there's such a bias about what's good and not good, if you're healthy or unhealthy, and that's just blurring access to equal opportunity. And then you said something very interesting, because if we come from unity consciousness, everything is possible. So just to open the door to unity consciousness frees the pathway for access to equal opportunity.
Yeah,
But it can't happen in a predicted, set in stone world where we tend to live in.
yeah, yeah,
So where's the flexibility? So,
right.
and it's very interesting to see if people drop out for whatever reason, they have the experience of a dropout. And I think we spoke about it earlier. That's more as a signal rather than a problem. Because if you can recognize a signal, you can give words to that. You can expand from your experience. And then you, what we call, are a experience-based professional. But if you take that together with a role as just, are you a messenger? Are you taking the questions? Are you a bridge builder? Are you advocate?
Mm.
Are you a catalyst? What suits you in your role as experience-based professional? Even if your physical body or mental body isn't completely functioning as labeled normal.
Yeah. Mm.
In
Yeah.
unity consciousness, I'm you, you are me, I'm everybody. So what's the limit?
Yeah.
Interesting question.
It is. And of course, there are no limits. It's just the limits that we put on it ourselves. And of course, by habit and the way we've been taught and how we grow up with decades of habitual and old paradigm ways of organizing and leading, of course. So it's not to blame or whatever. It's just to deliver a new set of principles and a new way of viewing things that you will ask the different questions and you will get the different answers and you will get the different solutions then, of course. I think that the other principle is about the money. Like it's not profit first, but it's legacy first. And money is a consequence of your contribution, like either in evolving or in maintaining what's already good. And that comes then with a contribution different from what we now know. And last week I was talking to a small business owner and she was kind of thinking about, I have this one person that I really want to retain, and I'm not sure how. Should I give her shares or, but that didn't feel right also. And she was kind of like in a loop, a thinking loop of what to do. How can I then make her more contributing to the whole? So I said, okay, well, let's dive a little deeper with all these kinds of principles. And then she came to the conclusion like, okay, well, I can now see how my soul is like embedded in my company and how I can make her contribute more if I give her kind of permission and thus also herself to really uniquely contribute. And from that unique contribution, see, okay, what does really make you happy and how does that evolve my business through your own soul's mission, if you would like it to say it like that. And then she saw like, okay, but if that is really something that she is wanting and I can guide her with that, and that leads to ultimately more business, and the more and more she can do that on her own, the more and more, of course, that contribution is also for her. By doing so, she got more time and she was like, oh, then I create more time for myself. And then I can also see, oh, but this is then how I should proceed. Not with hiring more people because she already did that and that failed and she didn't really want that either. And now she saw like, oh, this is opening up so much more space and so much more possibilities. Also in a monetary way, like paying someone for the good that they are doing, but also paying for the growth of the person herself and the business. And that is, I think, a totally different take on pay as well as one of the core principles. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you align your soul's missions, and it can have a different form and shape, but if you can align it, the money flow will come straight after that. And that's why we decided to do our second deep dive live next week. So that's really all an hour online about these three core principles, but very much also focused on how on earth do we make this practical? Because that's the practical how again and again over and over. It's like a just repeating loop. It's yeah, oh, we like this. Oh, this is a very nice idea, and it's not. It's a way of living. And how, and then the how comes. So the deep dive in practical ways, we dive into, okay, how does it look like in real life? So come out of the theory, bring it back into reality. And that's what we do next week in the deep dive live.
Yeah. And also, what we like is the conversation with the participants, right? It's like,
Yes.
because we can only bring it to life with real life examples. Of course, we can think of all kinds of stuff, but just like last week with talking to that entrepreneur, it was like, now this is coming to life, and now you can
Yeah.
see when people click with the materials, and then it's like, now I can see something different. And then the questions arise like, oh, but how am I going to talk to her about this? How do I
Yeah.
integrate this myself? So this is really
Yeah.
nice. And also to have more time really to take a close look in the core principles and to really see how that impacts your strategy, your choices, and perhaps even the things that are already now implemented. And then you can start to see like,
Yeah.
okay, with this principle at hand, this should change. So yeah,
Exactly. So let's have a deep dive next week.
yeah.
We look forward to your questions and participation, and we will like to provide you with some communications around it as well to make things practical. So see you next week.
Yes.
We are looking forward.
All right. See you
Ye-
then.
Bye.
Bye bye.